Bangwana ni malelepo vukenjani klekbas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shipura.
Good morning, Ashwin. I see you are wearing black like me.
We're doing the best we can.
Yes, we're doing the best. I think I should have put on a red something just to compliment you.
You have the lipstick, so it works.
Thank you. Well, getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast, Nigerian military drone attack kills 85 civilians in Era. Stigma, regulatory barriers delay mpox response in a country that needs it the most. And UK announces rise in salary threshold for foreign workers' visas. We'll also be crossing over to South Africa, speaking to Arrie Hougaard, who will be filling us in on the latest news over there. Do stay tuned for these and more news on Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
In our top stories, a Nigerian military attack that used drones to target rebels instead killed at least 85 civilians gathered for a religious celebration, authorities said on Monday. The attack was the latest in recent errant bombings of residents in Nigeria's troubled regions between February 2014, when a Nigerian military aircraft dropped a bomb on Daglun in Borno State, killing 20 civilians, and September 2022, there were at least 14 documented incidents of such bombings in residential areas. The attack on Sunday night in Tudunbiri village of Kaduna State's Igabi Council area took place as Muslims gathered there to observe the holiday celebrating the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad.
In our next story, vaccines and treatments that could help tackle an mpox epidemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo are lying unused outside the country, despite a death rate far higher than from the global outbreak that began last year. Stigma, regulatory hurdles, and competing disease outbreaks are all factors holding back the response, according to almost a dozen scientists, public health officials, and drug makers involved. Now, since January, at least 581 people have died of mpox in Congo out of 12,569 suspected cases, compared to 167 deaths among 91,788 reported cases in 116 other countries since January 2022, according to the World Health Organization. Mpox is a viral infection that spreads through close contact and causes flu-like symptoms and pus-filled skin lesions.
Now, the British government has announced a package of measures to cut migration to the United Kingdom, including plans to raise the minimum salary required for foreign workers to be eligible for a work visa. The measure aims at raising the minimum salary migrants to the UK must earn, to raise the minimum salary migrants to the UK must earn in a job by a third after record net migration in 2022 piled pressure on Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to act. High levels of legal migration have for more than a decade dominated Britain's political landscape, and Sunak has promised to gain more control after lawmakers in his Conservative Party criticized his record ahead of an election expected next year. Successive Conservative-led governments have promised to cut migration, once targeting a net figure of less than 100,000. Interior Minister James Cleverly said on Monday the government would raise the minimum salary threshold for foreign skilled workers to £38,700, the equivalent of $48,800.
Now, following the sentencing to 5 years in prison of Mauritania's former president, Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz, on Monday, his lawyers said they intend to appeal the decision. Now, Aziz, who ruled the country between 2008 and 2019, was convicted of illicit enrichment and laundering by a court in the capital Nouakchott. While the former leader did not react to the judgment, his lawyer spoke following the pronouncement. "We have always considered this to be a political trial that has nothing to do with the law," said Taleb Kair. "We intend to appeal and we hope that our voice will finally be heard then." Now, Aziz had been on trial since January alongside 10 other prominent figures, including 2 former prime ministers, for illicit enrichment, abuse of functions, influence peddling, and laundering.
And in the loss of our top stories, the third conference on public health in Africa concluded with a resounding call for Africa to embrace the future of health through collaboration, innovation, and a renewed commitment to health equity. Held in Lusaka, Zambia from November 27 to November 30, the conference themed Breaking Barriers, Repositioning Africa in the Global Health Architecture marked the eve of Africa's CDC's first anniversary as an autonomous institution of the African Union and aimed to help building healthier, more prosperous Africa. An exciting addition to this year was the introduction of a 6-month media fellowship on science journalism, sponsoring 45 journalists from across Africa to enhance their reporting skills, fostering a legacy beyond the event. Those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Arrie Hougaard joins us from South Africa after the break.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Top. Jou is weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
We now cross over to South Africa, speaking to Arrie Hougaard. Good morning, Arrie.
Yes, very good morning, Lenora and Ashwin. Nice to talk to you from Cape Town.
Nice to talk to you too. Now, getting into your first story, the current state of drinking water is a massive challenge for the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, as almost half of South Africa's drinking water is unsafe. Can you get into this?
Yes, it is unsafe and it can make you sick. It's a challenge. It was done by Blue Drop Report, is the company's name, and it's a respected report. It's done annually. So it's the concerning statistics that came out of this. That was in 2014. There was only 5% of the water supply in South Africa that had a concern. That was a concern. Now it's 46%. So it's a massive increase, especially on the rural areas. In the cities, it's a little bit better. In Johannesburg and in Cape Town, the quality is a lot better, and in most of the cities, but it's in rural areas like the Northern Cape that it's a massive problem. So it's the Water Department and Sanitation. It is ranked it's called a microbiological water quantity compliance. So it's a big word, but they test it and they make sure if it's drinkable. It's also linked to severe regression of the systems over the time, and it's deteriorating. It was water systems and maintenance, and that's a big problem. So it was 958 water supply systems that was tested, and 26% of them have 95% efficiency, but massive amount of them is in below quality. So that's a concern for South Africa, but it's let's say, reoccurring problem in our country. Unfortunately, it's maintenance. It's not looked after, and after time you pick up problems. So they need to look at that somehow.
All right, Arrie. Now, the African National Congress, the ANC, might be facing liquidation proceedings if they don't pay an events company over 100 million rand today. Tell us more about that.
Yes, this is trending in our news in South Africa. A top story actually. I started off with the water, but this is big news. And it started slowly, but now it's becoming a real problem for the ANC. The problem is that if you liquidate it or in a liquidation process, you can't stand for the elections. So that's a massive problem. But it is the court that ruled that the money needs to be paid to Israeli investments. And there's been a few court orders that confirmed that. Then it went to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and that again confirmed the ruling. You must pay the 102 million. And then now the ANC say they want to go to the Constitutional Court, much like the former president's doing, going to all these appeal courts. But the reality is that it was services done in 2019. It is very specific. It was 30,000 PVC banners that was done at 2,900 each and used in the 2019 elections and not paid for. That amounted to 87 million. It grew with interest. It's actually now 150 million. But that company said they've had enough, pay today or we'll start a liquidation process. Actually, there was a raid on the Lutuli house to write up, the sheriff wrote up some, tried to write up some valuables and get an estimate of what assets they have in the building. So it's a real concern for the ANC, so it needs to be sorted out today. So it's a real trending story in South Africa at the moment.
Well, do keep us posted on that story. Now, getting into your next story, with the December holiday season here, tourists are expressing concern with some swimming beaches being contaminated and showing high E. coli levels. Can you get into this?
Yes, it's almost a mirror of when we talked about this last year, December. So it seems to be the same challenge. And the reality is that it is sewage that is pumped into rivers that flow into the coastline of Durban. So it's not managed well, and that the E. coli levels go too high. Sometimes they close the beaches. It often happens. They test it twice a week. So the reality at the moment is there's 23 beaches that will be certified, let's say beaches that tourists visit. 800,000 people expected in this time, and it definitely can make you sick. So that's trying to sort out the rivers, but there's many rivers flowing into the ocean. Mayor Mazoli Kaunda, he said that the beaches are safe and fine. That was his statement yesterday. That's him, and he also said that they're testing the E. coli levels. So they have a difficult task to do. They're trying their best. But what's concerning is they said, well, if they find that E. coli is too high in the beach, they just close it. So that's a concern for tourists. If you visit Durban and all of a sudden they just close the beaches. So it's been an issue before the 2022 floods. So that's the big issue. It's been a challenge even before the infrastructure was damaged by the 2022 floods. But that didn't help as well. So it is a problem for that area. And so if you swim, maybe try and keep your head above the water. Probably that's maybe advice for people going to Durban.
I mean, good thing Africa lives beyond borders. So as a tourist, if you find yourself stuck, go to the SAA website, type in Walvish Bay or Swakopmund, and I promise you the beach experience delectable. Let's move on. HSBC Rugby 7 Series is in Cape Town after the Blitz Box had a wonderful outing in Dubai, winning that tournament. Tell us more.
Yes, we draw strength, like we've talked a lot about this program, as in Namibia, strength from sporting events and sporting happenings and successes. So that's nice to see. It's a bit of a same old, for the last 4 years, South Africa won in Dubai, came to Cape Town and battled a little bit. So hopefully it will change. That's an amazing stadium. That's the Cape Town Stadium with Table Mountain in the backdrop. So it's a very popular tournament. Lots of people. It's a big party. It's the start of the December holidays. People mostly by this weekend, many of them go on holiday. So those are the captains for the team. So South Africa have a tough group. They play Ireland, the USA, and Great Britain in their group. The men's division, the women's division is France, Canada, and USA. So there's always tough competition from Fiji and New Zealand, but a great tournament. It's been run brilliantly, and that's what it's about. It's the vibe. People are mostly thirsty when they go there, so they drink something. And it is a great vibe and a great atmosphere. Finals, it will start on Saturday and the finals will be on Sunday. Hopefully success again for the Blitzbox. And so it's something to look forward to.
Certainly keeping all fingers crossed. Thank you, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
It's a big pleasure and a brilliant day for everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
Let's take a look at our weather predictions before we get into your economic news.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
All right, getting into economic news stories, Mozambique's domestic public debt increased by 59.3 billion meticais between December 2022 and November 2023, when it reached 334.4 billion meticais, the equivalent of $5.2 billion at the current exchange rate. According to the Bank of Mozambique's latest economic situation and inflation outlook report, the government has been increasing domestic debt levels, which shows that the state is a strong competitor to the private sector in terms of access to credit. The cumulative amount of domestic credit contracted between December 2022 and November 2023 increased by around 59.3 billion meticais, giving a total domestic debt stock of around 334.4 billion meticais. Among the main instruments used to finance cash deficit are treasury bonds and advances from the Bank of Mozambique.
Swinging over to Kenya, Kenya's private sector actively declined for a third straight month in November. A survey showed on Tuesday as businesses struggled with soaring costs. The Stanbic Bank of Kenya Purchasing Managers Index fell to 45.8 last month from 46.2 in October. Readings above 50 signal growth in business activity, while those below point to a contraction. The performance of Kenya's private sector started to decline in September, and the latest monthly reading is one of the weakest since the series began almost a decade ago, the survey said. Now, driving the downturn in operating conditions was another historic increase in business costs during November, it said.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. We're going to head to the indicators just before Arrie returns with the sport.
Namibians are still safe.
Everywhere else, the Supreme Court said we are not going to rely on foreign judgments.
By all means, we try to not make journalists public figures, but at the end of the day, they are.
Very good evening. My name is Tebo Njebela, your host.
With their Protestant offsprings.
But the implementation, like she's saying, is another thing.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with soccer news first from the English Premier League, and it's news from Sheffield United. And the news from Sheffield United that their manager Paul Heckingbottom is probably going to be sacked by the club, and it is after being in charge for 2 years. It was the Blades, as they called Sheffield United. They lost 5-0 at Burnley the past weekend, and they've lost 11 of their opening 14 games. At the moment, they're bottom of the lot of the 20 teams in the English Premier League. They only have 5 league points, and the other two in the bottom three at the moment is Burnley, is 19th on 7 points, and also Everton, also on 7 points in 18th position. Staying with English Premier League, and it is also the biggest media rights deal ever conducted in the United Kingdom, have been confirmed, and that is Sky News and also TNT. Sky News and TNT confirmed that they signed a 4-year deal with the English Premier League, and that is worth £6.7 billion. So that's a lot of money. That's over 4 years, starting in the 2025-2026 seasons, and it will be 270 live games per season that will be broadcast. So lots of money spent on television rights in the English Premier League. Also, international sports news is Formula 1 racing, and the 20 drivers for the 2024 season have been confirmed. The last driver to take his seat that was confirmed was from Williams, and that is Logan Sargent. He is from the United States, and he was confirmed as one of the 2 drivers for Williams. The other driver for Williams in 2024 will be Alex Albon. It is Logan Sargent that really battled in 2023 for Williams. He only got 1 point in the whole season, and that was at the US Grand Prix, and that was also only after Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were disqualified from the race. The first race in the 2024 season will be on the 2nd of March. That will be the Bahrain Grand Prix. And to close off today's international sports news, it is tennis news from the Australian Open, and it has been confirmed earlier that Rafael Nadal will play in the 2024 Australian Open, and but the big news now is that he will also play in the Brisbane International that is leading up to Australian Open. That tournament will start on the 31st of December till the 7th of January. It was Rafael Nadal. He's 37 years old. He missed all of 2023 because of a hip injury, and he indicated that he wants to play 1 more year in 2024, a full season of professional tennis. The Australian Open will start on the 14th of January. It is Rafael Nadal. At the moment, he is number 633 in the world, but the tournament director, that is Craig Tilley of the Australian Open, said that he's eligible for protected ranking. That's because of his injury. It is Rafael Nadal that won 23 Grand Slams in his career, and he also won the Australian Open twice. That was in 2009. He won it, and also again in 2022. That is Rafael Nadal playing in the Australian Open next year. That's international sports news for today. I hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours, and let the culinary adventure begin.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning throughout the broadcast. Let's dive into the highlights from this morning. Nigerian army drone attack kills 85 civilians in Error. Stigma regulatory barriers delay mpox response in country that needs it most, Congo. UK announces rise in salary threshold for foreign workers' visas. Mozambican domestic public debt continues to rise.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Wednesday morning. From me, Glenn Orashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry. Soda Shakanaka.